Thank you for joining in on our Instant Pot classes. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about how to use an Instant Pot, which is an electric programmable pressure canner. So if you have another brand that you will be using during these classes, that's okay. Just make sure to use the recommended manufacturer instructions. They do work very similar, but it still may be some differences. So let's talk a little bit about how the Instant Pot works. So when we are normally cooking on a stovetop or in an oven, we can only cook to a certain temperature, and that is boiling point. But what if we wanted to cook a little bit more faster and a little bit more efficient? Well, what we would need is to create more pressure than the standard atmospheric pressure. And that can be solved by adding steam that can build up pressure within the Instant Pot, thus making the temperature more higher and making things cook a lot quicker. So here we have our Instant Pot. It's a great instrument to use in your kitchen when you want to cook something a little bit more quicker. And the way that it works is basically within our Instant Pot, we have the base that helps to heat what is in the inside of the Instant Pot. And when we open our lid, we have the inner pot. Now the inner pot is what we're going to cook in. This is where we can saute if we're using a saute feature. It's where we would cook for slow cooking and of course using our pressure function. So the way that this works is we want to use our equipment to build up that pressure. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about some of the parts of the Instant Pot that are important. First, let's start off with our lid. So we talked a little bit about our Instant Pot, like the inner pot of it, but we need to talk about how the lid helps to seal in pressure and helps to build up pressure within it. So of course, when we open it up, we have this rubber lining around it, which is called the sealing ring. That's what helps to trap in the pressure. We also, if we turn it around, we have our float valve and our vent. Our float valve helps us to indicate if we have successfully reached pressure or successfully released pressure. That is our indicator. But when we use our vent, this is how we can manually control our own pressure. So we have venting and we have sealing. When we put it into venting, that helps to release any type of pressure or helps to just create an open Instant Pot. So we can use that if we are releasing pressure or if we're doing things like slow cooking and we need to close the lid. We also have the sealing function. Now the sealing function is important to build up pressure. That is how we are going to lock in and make sure that steam pressure is created. How we do this, of course, is that we need to have some sort of liquid, whether it be water or broth or anything that goes into our inner pot whenever we're cooking food. Now, another important part of our Instant Pot, of course, is our condensation trap. So this is located on the back of some of our Instant Pots, and it helps to trap in some of the excess steam or water that is created through the cooking process. Of course, we also have our instrument panel in the front, and this gives us the many features that we need when using an Instant Pot, whether it be pressure canning or sauteing or using as a slow cooker, or even the multi-functional buttons that use to cook rice, things like soups, things like chilies, anything you would need. And we want to make sure whenever we use those settings that are like cooking with rice, meats, stews, or soups, that we follow the instruction manual to know how to do those processes. Now, let's talk a little bit about quick and natural release. These are the ways and methods that we control the amount of pressure that comes and goes within our Instant Pot. So there are two methods, quick release and natural release. Quick release is sort of like our manual way of releasing any type of pressure. So when we do a quick release, we want to take it from when it was sealing to venting. Now, we want to be safe about this as it will release a stream of hot steam. So make sure we avoid putting our face in front of the valve our vent valve and make sure we keep our hands away from the vent valve so we won't get burned. A recommendation is taking any type of kitchen towel or cloth and putting it over the vent so that the steam hits the towel and does not hit anything else. Now, natural release is the automatic way of releasing pressure, and that's basically leaving our vent in steaming after it's done cooking and just letting the pressure naturally release on its own. So you can actually cook things without having to release the pressure by yourself. So let's talk a little bit about our most common functions. So there's 3 that we want to talk about today because of course we have our other functions that you want to be careful of by using your instruction manual. But there are 3 that are simple that we use through these processes. One of them is to pressure cook, which is you'll see on your Instant Pot as either pressure or manual. And this is basically your controls whenever you want to cook anything under pressure. There's also an option called slow cook. Slow cook is great for when you want to use it sort of like use your Instant Pot sort of like you're using a crock pot or a slow cooker. So you can actually just keep your vent in the venting position and slow cook things over throughout the day. Another great and last important function is saute. So you can also use your Instant Pot as a regular heating element, sort of like the one that you see on your stovetop. So you would turn it on saute function and you can adjust it to being low or high heat. And of course, cook things as you regularly would if you were to do something on a stovetop. Now, what's really important is learning how to troubleshoot with your Instant Pot. So what is really amazing about the Instant Pot is because it is made with a computer that helps control the heating element and the pressure, that it's easy to troubleshoot on your own. There are 2 important signals that may show up that are the most common on your screen of your Instant Pot, and that is burn and hot. Whenever you see the hot light up onto your screen, it is okay. It's just letting you know that the inner pot is heated up and hot. It may reach to overheat, which means just make sure you're keeping watch of the heat and turning it off if you need to. But the great thing about Instant Pot again is it does have an automatic shut off if need be, especially when you're using pressure as well. The burn feature basically means that whenever it lights up to burn, that the inner pot at the bottom does not have enough liquid and may scald the bottom of your inner pot pan. So what a great recommendation is to turn off any type of pressure cooking. Let it either natural release or quick release safely. Open your inner pot after it's done releasing the pressure and adding in any liquid that you need to, and try to deglaze as much of the bottom of your Instant Pot as possible. Another thing to troubleshoot is your vent and your float valve. Remember, these have to be cleaned and cared for just the same. So if you see any damage, make sure that you're cleaning it or replacing any of those damages of the float valve and the vent. We want to make sure that it is not clogged so that we can have a great indicator of whether pressure has successfully reached or if it has successfully been released. Last but not least, we need to talk about care and storage. So what's the most important thing about Instant Pots is they can last a long time as long as you take care of it as much as possible. So that means after every use of an Instant Pot, make sure to wash and dry what is able to be washed and dried, and make sure to clean the sides as well as the outside surface of your heating element. But of course, let it reach a safe temperature to clean. Do not clean the inside of the inner pot, for that is a part of the burner and it needs to stay as dry as possible. Now, other than that, everything on the Instant Pot, including the lid, the inner pot, and the condensation trap, can be dishwashed. So that means that your sealing ring, parts of the float valve, and parts of the vent can also go into the dishwasher to be cleaned. So make sure that when you do clean those and clean the inner pot that you also dry everything as much as possible. We want to make sure the burning element stays dry as possible, which means you need to dry your inner pot. Storage is as simple as keeping it in a dry place anywhere. It can be on your surface or in a cabinet, but make sure it is free from any type of moisture that can damage your Instant Pot. Now that you have gone through this instructional video on the introduction of using the Instant Pot, you are ready to join in on our wonderful class at Cooperative Extension. If you have any questions on how to use your Instant Pot, please contact your local Family and Consumer Science agent within North Carolina Cooperative Extension. If not, you can always contact me, Marcus McFarland, at 704-283-3830. Thank you.